Have I ever told you the story of Quasimodo? I have not told you. You know of Notre Dame. Quasimodo was, when you're from South Carolina, you call him Quasimodo. Quasimodo was a hunchback, and he was a horrible figure. And his job was to ring the bell in the tower of Notre Dame, which he did every day on the hour. One bell for every hour of the day. And he was, as I said, he was a hunchback, and it was a horrible life. But Quasimodo had an unusual way of ringing the bell. He didn't pull the cord. He rang the bell with his face. He would slam his face against the bell, and he did it loud enough where everyone in the town could hear. No one knew him, and it was a life of despair. So one day he got so full of despair that he threw himself from the tower, where he landed on the street below, and he was dead. And a crowd gathered around, and they thought, "Who is this man? He's so horrible looking. Who is he? Who knows this?" And one man said, "I don't know who he is, but his face sure rings a bell." Thank you. It's been a wonderful time. It's good to see you. Tomatoes. He's throwing tomatoes. All right. Well, welcome to the first Director's Dialogue. We've never done this here at Cedar Field. We used to have a town hall. This might be different from that. I don't know. I've never experienced one. But this is the way that I've typically sort of communicated events that are happening around the campus, and sort of enter into a dialogue with residents about what's happening and what's on your mind. It's a very informal affair, and I will try my best to relay good information to you. I will tell you that I am still really new. I'm halfway through my 7th week, so there's still a lot that I don't know. So you'll see I put a confidence indicator on some of these slides. Some I'm not very confident about. Some stuff I'm more confident about. So if we can go in with that. And so for our television audience, we should note that the room here is about half full. And so what I would like to do is to encourage folks to come on out of their apartments and come on into the dialogue next month. And let's be together in community. There's no reason not to. We're going to get the chairs a little bit closer together. We can fit more people. One thing that I am worried about, I know a lot of retirement communities are worried about, during the pandemic, people got so conditioned or deconditioned to being at home and receiving things at home, that getting out is something that they're no longer doing as well as they used to do. And so I'm going to encourage everybody to let's go back to pre-pandemic. We get out and be in community instead of sitting on our couch watching the life of the community through the TV lens. Now, I think it would be healthy for all of us if we can do that. Okay, so our first slide here is occupancy, and I asked Eleanor if she would please order me a green pointer. Hopefully people can see the green better than the red. So it was on the 18th, so a little bit old, but no, actually it's new, but I didn't change the date. Apartments, we have 317 that are occupied. We have 3 that are reserved. We have apps out, which means that a person has come, they've given us their application, but it hasn't been approved yet. But they have their name on an address. Right, so it's off the market, but not reserved. It's a funny category. So apps out. That means 14 are available to sell today, with no one's name is on 14 of them. Our total inventory is 341, which means we're 93% occupied and we are 96% reserved. In assisted living, we have 33 that are occupied today. We have 5 that are available, or 5 that are reserved. That's a combination of people that are in independent living and people from the outside. There are no apps out because in this case, they're either approved or not approved. We have 4 that are available. We have 42 total. So we're 79 and 90% reserved. And in healthcare, we have 55 that are reserved, that are occupied. We have 2 that are reserved, and these are all inside people. We have apps out on 9. 3 are available for a total of 60, so we're 92 and 95%. Okay? Questions about occupancy? Everything okay? Yes, ma'am. Oh, we need a microphone for you. Yes. Oh, that'd be very helpful.
Gosh, I didn't need this, just to ask this simple question.
Okay.
You don't have the cottages up there as far as occupancy.
That is true. I didn't break them out, but they're there. They're in the total 341.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are 85 cottages, so 341 minus 85 would give you the number of apartments.
Okay,
But we could break it out if we want to do that in the future, if that's helpful to people.
yes.
This is not really my report, it's your report. It's whatever is most helpful to you.
Yeah, then we don't have to do the math.
Okay. And people want to know what's happening in their neck of the woods, right?
Exactly.
That's right. Okay. So I'll make a note. Now, if I miss that next month, you remind me. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about
just microphone.
If you have 5 reserved and approved, you said that some of them are from the outside?
Some are out and some are in, yes.
Okay. So let's say more people from inside need to get into assisted living and there isn't any space. What happens then?
Okay. So your question, I think, is in assisted living, for example, if we have 3 that are available, but the inside people need more than 3 at one fell swoop, what would we do about that? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. So the way we try to manage census in the nursing center, the way I've always done it and most places do, is you try to always fill it from the continuum of care.
Right.
But when more and more people are choosing to stay at home and not utilize the continuum of care, it creates vacancies in our licensed areas. And when we have 6 or 7 or 8 vacancies, you can do the math, 8,000 a month times 8 times 12, you're getting into hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of lost revenue, which everybody pays for. Everybody pays for that lost revenue. And so I feel like the right stewardship thing for us to do is try to maintain about 3 or so that are available for people in case something goes bump in the night. But to your point, if 3 people go bump in the night, that leaves us 0. If that were to happen, which is a very slim chance, because remember, the assisted living census is not fixed. There are people on that list now who are going to be moving to health care, who are temporary, are going to move out, who are on hospice and will not be with us that much longer. So the census is always fluid, and there are always apartments coming available. But if the worst thing happened, it was just not anybody, then Ann and the clinic, we would figure out a way to support you in your home until we could get you in assisted living. That's typically how that would work. But it's a pretty rare occurrence.
Thank you.
That everything's full. Okay, that's a good question. All right. COVID update. There are no cases on our campus today. That has been the case for the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, something like that, which is very good. We should all understand with COVID, just like a cold or just like the flu, there'll be times when we have some COVID cases and we need to do some spot isolation and infection control, and there'll be times when we don't have any cases. So I think we're just going to have to manage sort of a rolling, we just have to accept that COVID is a part of our life, and there'll be times when we have some COVID cases here. But how we try to control that locally, I think, will be important to us. Does that make sense? I just wanted to, it's not an either or. It's going to be a part of, but we should still pay attention to it. If we had an outbreak where we had 30 or 40 cases, we probably would want to roll some things back to protect the public health. But I don't know that that's going to really be the case at this point. So as far as restriction goes, the ones I can think of are the fellowship hall spacing is still, the chairs are about a chair apart. There's still plenty of room. We're really concerned about large mingling events. In other words, that event where you go get food and then you're standing around and you don't have a mask on and you're talking to 40 or 50 people and everyone's just moving around in a mingling kind of thing. That feels like it's a little risky right now. If 2 or 3 people just happen to have COVID that day, then 40 or 50 people are going to get it. So I think we're just going to be careful about that kind of thing. And crowd size management goes, and masks. So everyone's asking me about masks and what we're doing about them. And so I asked the question of Michael. I was like, is this a community thing or a Pinnacle thing? So he told me it's a Pinnacle thing about what the decision is about masks. And my understanding is that sometime next week there'll be some decision about whether we can abandon masks or not. So that's what I know about that at this point. Questions or thoughts about COVID cases, COVID precautions? Okay. Projects. Second floor, these are all the things I could think of that are just going on or not going on around campus that are going to start going on. Second floor memory care, Magnolia Glen. So that is scheduled to be turned over to us from the contractor at the end of March. Contractor's going to give it to us. And then we're going to occupy it in mid-April. That's about 2 weeks we'll have. And during that 2-week period of time, we will have to get it inspected by the Department of Social Services. We'll have to have a health inspection from the food service people in the county. We have to have the furnishings installed. We have to make sure that the kitchen is ready to go, ready to prepare the first meal, activities. And so there's all kinds of stuff that we'll need to do during that 2 weeks. It'll be a very hectic 2 weeks. And if anything goes wrong, then we're in a world of trouble because it's very tight. So the 20 people who are currently living on the 4th floor household, which is temporarily being called Magnolia Glen, it's our memory support household. Those are the 20 people that will move down to the 2nd floor memory care. All their families know this. Everything is set. Lori Andrews, who's our transitions manager, has been very instrumental in helping us communicate with everyone. And so that move is going to happen in mid-April. And so that's all about that. And then there's a move that's related to the construction on the 4th floor. This is part of why I walk around the hallway looking so bewildered all the time, because there's so much stuff happening, so many moving parts at Cedarfield that I just got introduced to very quickly. But in late April, we're going to move 10 rooms that are currently on the 3rd floor assisted living, Garden Grove. And we're going to move those people to the 4th floor household that has just vacated when the 20 people moved down to the 2nd floor. So the 4th floor is kind of a swing bed. That's an old term, but a swing. So those 20 people are moving out. The 10 people from assisted living are going to move in. The reason they're moving in is because nothing's really going to happen to their rooms. There'll be a little bit will happen, but mostly the guys are going to be working above that space for several months, and it's going to be really loud. And so what we want to do is get those people out of those rooms so they can get some peace. And they'll be up on the 4th floor household, 10 people. We'll serve meals still in assisted living. They'll come down for those meals, so it'll be a temporary place, and it'll last until about September. Currently, I believe that there are 7 of those 10 rooms that are occupied. So really 7 people will move, but the 10 rooms will be affected. Does all that make sense?
Yeah.
Sort of? It took me about a month before it made sense to me, but I'm slow. The Memory Garden is another project. It is related to the second floor memory care household. So that work is underway. All the old concrete paths have been torn out. I think the demo is finishing up today. The pergolas come out, and some of the plantings have either come out or they're being moved for reuse. So that's going to be a sort of a clean slate. And then there'll be work to put things back in, a different pattern for the sidewalk. There'll be a pergola that will be put in place, and there's a picture of it here in a minute. But it's supposed to complete in mid-April. And it's tied to the second floor in this way. In the second floor, to get approved by the DSS, we have to demonstrate that there's a clear path of egress in case of fire out of the second floor through a finished surface and out of the garden. And they're going to go through the garden to do that. And there has to be a certain amount of lighting in place, 1 foot candle lit the whole time. So if our memory garden project doesn't end on time, then we won't get approval to occupy, which means everything gets backed up. So those two things are very tight, and so I have been paying a lot of attention to those things. I think we're okay. The lighting is the worry, and the reason is because everything's so hard to get. If we don't get, and I don't want the whole thing to be held up by a light fixture. So we got a plan B in place, but I think we're going to be okay. This is an image of the memory garden from above. And I'll try to do this in a way that you can continue to hear me. So this is a building here. Our path of egress would be out or out. I'm not sure which one it is. This is a pergola that will be purchased, and it will sit on a concrete slab, and it'll be a place where there'll be chairs and table, and so there'll be a nice shaded place people can sit, do activities, do those kinds of things. And this pergola, it's one that Beth picked out, and so a company will be installing that. There'll be a flower fountain, so one of those where flowers sort of cascade down the sides. This is, as you can see here, all this was designed by Beth. So, and she did a really nice job with it. This will be concrete. This looks like pavers, but it's actually going to be concrete. There's plantings, and there'll be a fence that'll go around some of it. So it's going to be a very nice garden. Everything is going to be in place other than, I think, some furniture that we had hoped to put here, that we'd had to take that out of our budget. So I think Allison is looking for opportunities if someone wanted to get the furniture through a philanthropic act. And I think, Allison, that's a $15,000 or so thing. So if someone wanted to do that, we have furniture, it's just the old furniture. So either we can make it happen more quickly through philanthropy, or we can wait a little while to get the more up-to-date furniture. Okay, any questions about the memory care garden? Okay. Generator. Someone was laughing. So here's what I know, and I had a meeting with all the folks that live in the D wing yesterday because they're acutely interested in this topic. So I don't have to spend a lot of time on it because we've spent a lot of time on that yesterday with them. But there was the reason it was taking so long, I think, is because they were doing this one-line study. And you're like, what the heck is a one-line study? A one-line study is one where because our generator is so old, and so many people have had hands on different parts of the electric over the 25 years, they wanted to be sure that they knew what was on it when it was under load. And the only way they did that is they had to go piece by piece and track everything down and follow it to the receptacle, to the piece of equipment. So all these things throughout the whole campus that's lit, that had to happen for them. And it's very, very complicated to do. And what they found was there's a lot of stuff that was not labeled on it that was on it. And the reason it's important is because, as I'm learning, if your generator is supposed to have a certain amount of amperage on it, its capacity is X, you want the load to be about 75% of X. And that's about where you want to max out your generator. And ours is somewhere in that neighborhood, so it's very close as to whether we'll be able to use that generator and wire the D building to it, or whether we get another. The decision has not been made yet. They're still in the process of wrapping up, and there'll be a report that'll come out in mid-March. That is a copy of one page of a line study. And you can't, I didn't put it here so you can read it, so it's because it's very complicated, but it follows basically, the scan didn't really work out well, but it follows down, every one of these is something. Like this is the kitchen hood. So every one of these is something. Do all this. This is one page, and so literally it was a very laborious effort to go through, and that's why it's taken so long. The report's due in mid-March. It's close as to whether we can or cannot use it. Either way, it really doesn't make any difference from a timing perspective, because if you use the current generator, you got to run wires all the way through, go down the hallway, go into every apartment, or you put up a new generator and then you wire that and run into every apartment. Either way you slice it, it's going to be late summer, September-ish before anybody's going to have generator power. The D wing is not going to have any more or any less generator power than other buildings have. One light, one receptacle in the entryway, HVAC, emergency lighting. It's going to be very minimal, so it'll be very consistent across the campus. But that's why it's taken so long. Questions about generator? Lighting protection. Yes, sir. Oh, wait, we got to get a microphone for you, if you would, please.
What I'd like to know, we went to lunch yesterday, and right next to the elevator on the 4th floor, the guys were running wires. I don't know where they were running to.
I don't know. On the 4th floor elevator, I'm not sure what that was.
Okay.
It wasn't the elevator.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that
When
was.
the elevator was right next to it, they were
Yeah.
in the library.
It wasn't anything with the generator.
No, it wasn't with the generator.
Lighting protection. So there's 3 phases of the lightning protection project. And one is being done, the others are still to be determined. So the pieces of equipment that are most critical to be protected are the cooling tower and these pieces of equipment that are made by a company called Dicon. And so the Dicon equipment gets struck by lightning frequently, I'm told. And so the first thing, and they're actually doing it right now, that you can see the guys on top of the cooling tower putting up rods. And so that part is paid for, it's being done, and it should be relatively easy. The second phase is where they'll run cables at the buildings, and then they'll bury the end into the ground where the lightning power will be diffused through the ground. And then the third phase is when they'll come back and put the rods on the building at certain points. There's, I'm told, 91 of those points on all the buildings. And so it's a pretty laborious thing that they'll be doing. And so what that'll end up doing is giving us some protection. I don't think it's complete, but I think they're pretty effective. They've been proven over time to be pretty effective from protecting us from lightning strikes. And there's a question.
It's not a question. Excuse me. I asked the guys yesterday, I saw the same people, and they said they were replacing all the cables in the whole building. So that's what they were doing.
Okay.
And also, the internet will be affected, and we should have better service on
Okay.
the internet.
Very good. See, the things that I don't know that you all do.
They were very, very pleasant, I tell you.
That's good.
And I thanked him profusely for fixing it.
Good. There's a question right behind you.
Can I go one step back to the generator?
Yes, ma'am.
Thinking outside the box that we're not going to be able to handle it with the generator that we have.
It's likely.
Right. Have we looked at where the new one will be placed and what's going to be handled as far as noise suppression?
I don't know the answer to those questions yet, but those are good and logical questions. Where will it be? What about the noise? And I'm concerned about what would the power source be? Will it be diesel? Will it be natural gas? We don't know. So if it can't be done with the current, then we'll have to get with Genset design for us, then we'll have to bid out the work to be done. So it's still a ways away to make some of those decisions. But pertinent questions. Signs is another topic that I know that you're familiar with. So the sign layout, we hired a company called CGI, I believe, and they have done the layout for us, which is complex. It's in process, or Jack and I are in the process of walking the building to confirm the signage. There were certain signs on the big plan that he just wanted us to, it's like when you're an editor of a book and you sign it and it goes to print, it's not going to go to print without your signature on it. And there's a mistake, you own it. And so that's the process that we're in right now. We have to sign it and we own it if there's a mistake. And so we're just going through the process right now of doing that. We did some yesterday, and I think we have to schedule another day to finish up. So we've got to approve the package, and then it'll go into production, and I don't know how long the production is. So the timeline, therefore, is unknown. So I don't know exactly when, how long production will be. And here is... I'm sorry, for those of you at home, you're not going to be able to hear this. But these are examples of the signs that are going to be there. There's a little bit about the building, sort of and you've seen some of these signs already around the campus. Someone wrote me a note, they were concerned it would be light gray on light gray, and that's not going to be the case. It'll have some contrast. Will everybody be able to see it? We all have different eyes, I'm not sure, but it's pretty good. Trying to get this is the study that Jack and I are walking the building, not the study, but the layout. Oh, well, you can't see anything.
We saw administrative offices when we first got them.
Did I step on something? Eddie's going to come help me? Did I break something? It's that right there.
We saw that administration.
Got it. Oh. Let's try this guy right here. There we go. Okay.
Watch your sleeve. It's blocking the light.
Okay. Can everybody still see it? No. It's just not going to show. Okay. I wanted to show you some samples of the signs, but I'm not able to do that. But this is an example of what a sign will look like. It's the one that's sitting outside of my office. Something is not right. Now there's nothing again? Eddie, what did I do? Oh, here it is. Duplicate. Okay, I'm going to try one more time because this is important to me. Can you see that? Oh, thank goodness. Okay, all I wanted to do, this whole thing, was just so I could show you some examples of what the signs are going to look like. So there's like a plethora of different signs. And the kind of words and the general layout, they all have this sort of gold bar down the sides, and you've seen them around the campus in some areas. This is a sample of that's a sample of the layout that he did. So every one of those little lines is a sign. And so we have to walk the building and look at every one of the signs and be sure that the line matches up and the words on the sign match. And then you have to cross-reference it with what the words are. So it's a real process to go through. It's extremely complicated. So as people are saying, why aren't the signs done? Well, because it's complicated. It's part of the reason. But it is coming, and all we need to do now is confirm it and sign off on it. Okay. God dang it. Is it good? Okay, good. Yeah.
I have something to say about signs.
Okay.
Library committee, Darling and myself, and with the help of Eleanor, because of Eleanor, the signage company is going to give the library free signage, which meant 50 signs for us. That would be catalog signs like fiction, nonfiction. And it's amazing how it's going to make it look so much better. And now I understand why they were willing to give it to us free, because this must be a very expensive
It is a very
proposition.
expensive. It is.
But I would even understand they take a tax deduction for this. So,
All right,
so we thank Eleanor very much. Thank you,
If
Eleanor.
you could keep holding on to that one, I'll keep this.
I'm this person.
Okay, so this is an example of the sign. Then we'll move on real quick. So other important projects that are important to everyone around campus, and I'm saying these things with some 90% of certainty, so take with a grain of salt what I'm telling you. But these projects are ones that are on hold because of some budget overruns in the construction in the health services area. Okay, so there's caution that don't spend this money yet until we find out the scope of these cost overruns, which makes perfect sense. What doesn't sit well with people is, why isn't anything happening with the lobby? Why isn't these things? And that's the reason why they're not happening. So in the lobby, chapel, and vestibule, and the lobby, the vestibule of the chapel, and the library, everything is planned. I've seen the plans from the designer. The selections have been made. I believe some of the furniture is in the procurement process. And there's a quote from a contractor that's now getting a little old and may have to be rebid. So it's really ready to go. We just can't execute it until I can figure out what the timing will be for it. There's an Interfaith Learning Center, which I think used to be called the Multi-Purpose Room. It's right across from the bank. I think there was a flood or a leak there. That one is the same thing. It's planned, it's ready to go. It just needs somebody to pull the trigger on it. And that will be me. I just need to figure out when I can get the green light to pull the trigger on it. Other important projects are the lobby restrooms that are also in the planning works. I don't think the plan is as advanced for those. And in the fellowship hall, this room. This is on the radar, but I have not seen anything that tells me that it's as advanced as other areas are. All that makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like I'm boring everyone terribly. Okay. Hallway updates is another thing that I'm learning about, and I'm understanding that there's carpet. Some of the floors have been carpeted, others it's coming. Third and fourth, the carpet's ordered, that I know for a fact. I've been told that it's coming late May, June-ish, and will be installed on the third and fourth floors. That I know. What I don't know is what's the status of the wall coverings, because I know we want to change out some of the wall covering. I know we want to change out some of the lighting that's a little dated and catches bugs, and to a different fixture that's a little more bright and up to date. And I don't know the status of that. And I don't know what the schedule is for these things. So this is on my list of things to continue to learn about and try to execute. Hiring. Hiring is a big topic for us. It's very, very important. Yes, there's a question right over here. Thank you. Mrs. Donahue. Mrs. Phil Donahue.
I'd like to go back to construction.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a time we were promised a new clinic in digital record keeping.
Yes.
I have not seen that plan yet.
I will add that to my list. What I'm told is that there is a space that's been designated for the clinic, and that was going to include where the guest rooms are, and the current club room was going to serve as a place where the clinic was going to move to. It was not going to include the chatterbox. And I believe the club room across from that, the Prima club room, was going to be the replacement for the club room. I'll put it on my list. I think it's less advanced. Oh, wait a minute.
That's temporary while the renovations are being done in the clinic.
Oh.
Just so people know that space isn't going to be lost.
Okay.
It's just a temporary relocation.
Okay. So for those at home, what we just got told is that what I just said is not right. My wife tells me that all the time. My children too. So what I just said about it moving upstairs is temporary while the space downstairs is being renovated. That makes much more sense. I was like, why would we put the clinic right up by the dining room? That makes no sense. Okay, that makes more sense. Is everybody good with that? Okay. We're all learning together. Okay, hiring. Very, very important for us. We spend a lot of time on hiring. I wanted to give you an update. The main thing I want you to know is that the $15 an hour wage increase has made a significant impact in the ability of several departments to hire and get fully staffed. That's excellent news. Without it, we would still be struggling and we would be far behind in the market. And I know that this is going to be an investment that you're all making, and there's a lot of angst about the fee increase because of the wage increase. But I want you to know and communicate to you that it has had a positive effect in our ability to serve you better. Not universally, but in certain areas it's made a big difference. The biggest difference has been in housekeeping. Housekeeping was very close. Just last week, there were one position down, and there were many people down before the wage increase came along. They were hired up and almost full. Then we had one guy get another job, so we're back to 2. But really close. Make a big impact for Sharon. The other was dining. Dining has had a tremendous impact we were way far behind in the market there. And so he's been able to staff. He still struggles a little bit with servers, and I think it's because he's looking up here, and I think we may need to look here as far as talent and skill level and train our next round of people. So we have to work through that. But it's been a really tremendous. He's hiring at a fast clip. Maintenance is down 5 positions right now. When you raise the wage to 15, it doesn't have as much effect on HVAC people and plumbers because they're already in the 25, 28. So it's still a very tough market for those skilled. As you've heard, the trades are slim on people because everybody's building something today. Nursing is a big focus for us. Let me finish this one slide and then I'll take your question. Oh, let's go back to you. Go ahead, please.
Has a director of maintenance been hired?
I'm going to come to that. Thank you. Nursing is a big focus. The $15 an hour fee hadn't had as much impact as we would like to have because a lot of those folks are above the $15 threshold anyway. And this is what our numbers are. If you're a CNA and you're right out of school for first shift, we're hiring you at $16 to $19 an hour. Depends on what shift. There's a shift differential. But you could be at 17. If If you work just in healthcare, there's another dollar as opposed to assisted living, but you're in that range. That, I want to tell you, is a very good range. Pay is not the problem here. Lack of people is the problem. You could be 17, I said 18, but it's really 17, 20-ish, if you're working second shift with that shift differential. We instituted recently a sign-on bonus of $500 for people that join us between now and May 31st. And you should know that it is just flat out, it is a historic crisis in healthcare. It is not a Cedarfield thing. This is everywhere across the country. I don't know if I can pull this slide up. That's not going to work. I've got to work on my technology. But basically, I was trying to get a link for the internet to come up, and there's a report from Fitch, who is a rating agency. You've heard of Fitch, AAA, Triple B. They're very connected to the healthcare industry. And what they're saying is they have a graph that I wanted to show you that shows the number of job openings going up and the number of available workers going down. There are too many jobs for not enough people. This is the graying of America that we've talked about back in the 80s and 90s. And everyone said there are going to be more older people and there'll be fewer younger people to serve them. We're here. This is what it looks like. And so we're doing our very best. We have a lot of positions in nursing that are not filled, but we're working really, really hard. We have a corporate recruiter who's been hired and does nothing but, there's two of them. Full-time, all they do is recruit all day long. And they set up appointments for our people to interview and to hire. We've adjusted our wages. We've done the sign-on bonus. We're in social media. And we've got an $800 referral bonus. If Eddie was to refer somebody to the maintenance department, he'd get $800 for that referral. So there's a lot of aggressive steps that we're taking. I just wanted to address that with you. One is, the $15 made a big difference. Two is, we're facing a historic shortage of healthcare workers. And that's just the way it is. So we're going to do the best we can.
Paul?
Yes, ma'am.
We let the CNA training take place over and did that bring us any results?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So we hosted a school called Fresh Start, I think it is. They're a private school and they do CNA. It's a CNA school. It gets people certified to be a nursing assistant. And they do it in our clubhouse. And we've hired, my understanding, we've hired 4 or 5 of those students. So it's been beneficial for us to do. It's a multifaceted strategy that we have put into place. It was in place before I got here to hire folks. And that's one of them. The other is that the scholarship committee just last week, Allison, is going to roll the dice a little bit to help us, and they're going to take a person who's not a CNA, but who's a nursing assistant, what's it called? Resident assistant, something like that. They're not certified. We're going to give them a scholarship to go to CNA school to take that barrier out of the way. And we don't have a guarantee that they'll work for us. But that scholarship will be there from us. They'll be doing it at Fresh Start. Fresh Start does their clinical rotation here, so we can lay eyes on these people. They can lay eyes on us. So I think it's going to be very effective. And we're going to do 5. And if it doesn't work, we'll quit doing it. But it's a little risk that the scholarship committee is partnering with us as we're trying to solve this problem. No stone, I don't think, is being unturned. Okay, my thing quit working. Okay. I want to get my technology right next time. Okay, Director of Plant Operations. It's been filled. We've hired a person to be, well, I think we call it maintenance and engineering here. Plant operations, same thing. That position's been vacant for a while, and we hired a gentleman. He accepted the job the day before yesterday. His name is Lacy, L-A-C-Y, Salomon. He's worked for the city of Richmond for 14 years. He was their senior capital project manager, which means that he was in charge of building fire stations, renovating old city buildings. He put a cooling tower on top of a 20-story city hall building. He had to close the street to get the crane. So he manages big projects for us, and I think it'll be very helpful for us to have a person with his experience. Jack has done an outstanding job for us. He's been thrown into really a whirlwind of stuff. Building a building, there were problems with the building. He was trying to hire, he's 5 people down. I mean, I just can't say enough nice stuff about Jack. He's done a great job in a very difficult circumstance. And if you see him, and we really ought to do something formal to recognize him, because he's just a stand-up guy, and he's done the very best that he can do under really difficult circumstances. So Lacey will come on board on March 28th. And so we'll see him around the hallways at that time. We are currently looking for an associate executive director. We have one really strong candidate. That person is going to be around on Friday and going to run the gamut of people and interviews, and we'll see how it goes. It is not a fait accompli. It is our highest qualified candidate, and if we don't like her, we'll just keep moving. But to date, she's our strongest candidate to come through. And the last thing is sales associates, at least the ones that I've been involved in. We've had the dickens of a time finding sales associates that we feel good about. We've had a lot of people come, and they're just not what we're looking for. You are a unique audience, and we need to find the right person to interact with you. You can't just say, hey, I used to sell assisted living, and that's a different thing. So we need to find somebody who's got the refinement, who looks the part, who's intelligent, who comes off well, who's sincere, who fits our culture, and it can also be effective. And questions. I had some questions come in. I'm getting close to the end. Can you provide a timeline for removal of the construction dumpster at the Parkview entrance? In the future, can it be moved to the upper parking lot? And I asked the contractor, and this is what he said to me. This dumpster will remain in place until memory care is completed at the end of March. So I would say that the first week of April, we'll pull it and adjust the fencing. Keep in mind the Connex boxes, which are the stuff that holds all their equipment, down there will remain the duration of all the phases. Also, the dumpster will return when we start phase 4, which is currently slated for this time next year. Okay? We applaud management for increasing the safety of Cedarfield, mandating COVID vaccinations for employees. We be applying the same standards for future resident applicants. And I didn't have time, or I didn't think to ask Patty, does anybody at the staff know, do we require vaccination? No. So the answer to your question is no. We'll do whatever we apply to residents, we'll apply to the prospective resident. Will the 3G issue cause problems with our SARA system? SARA is the emergency pendants. And the answer is no, because that system does not work on cellular technology, so 3G will make no difference to it. It will continue to work as it's supposed to. And questions? I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted.
This was on the dumpster question. The
Yes,
question included a part, in the future, can the dumpsters be in the upper parking lot? And I didn't hear an answer to that.
Good point. And Eleanor's here, who's going to help me. Where's Eleanor? There she is. So she's going to help me get those questions down. Yeah. Other questions? Let me say it correctly. Any question on any topic, I will try my best.
You want to mention crane Saturday?
Yes, thank you. Crane. There'll be a crane on site on Saturday. That ended up being the best day because it will displace parking for our employees the least. So it'll be here on Saturday, the 5th, 8 a.m. to 2, a very big crane will move a relatively small piece of equipment on top of the healthcare building roof. Yes, ma'am.
Can we be kept abreast of what the status is on the elevator that works one day and doesn't the next?
Yeah.
This has been going on for over 2 months now.
Yeah.
If not longer.
What would status updates look like for you? What do you
I'm
have?
sorry?
What do you have in mind? What would it like? It's going to break next week, or
Well, no, like, has somebody come and looked at it? Have they had to order parts? You know, they'll come, it'll work for one day, and then it's back down again.
Okay.
Sometimes notes get put on saying that it's out of order, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
People are not confident in even getting in the elevator when it works.
Okay.
So, you know, so that's quite a concern.
Okay.
We've had 2 nights this week that the back 2 rows of lights, post lights in the Parkview area have been out. There's also been a drip, well, actually it was massively running faucet up in the 4th floor bathroom, and I reported that. They got some part in, but it's still dripping. And it just seems like there's not a lot of maintenance walkthroughs, that residents shouldn't be the only one noticing this. It should be the workers noticing it and taking some action.
Understand. Other question? Any topic at all?
It's back to the signage thing, because one of the reasons the communication committee wanted better signage. For people, those of us that live in a cottage, and you do too, this building is a maze.
Yes.
Trying to figure out where my friend lives on the 4th floor. And I would ask Karen yesterday a question about where someone's apartment was, and she pulled out this map. And it showed where every apartment was and exactly where I had to go, which is exactly what I was looking for. And I'm wondering why we don't all have that map, like in our directory or something. Because the current map doesn't help find apartments.
Okay. Maybe you can show me what map it was that she showed you.
Well, she can show you, mine's at home.
Okay.
But she has a whole folder with them in.
A whole folder full of maps, and she gave you one of.
Well,
it's the same map.
she had a few in there, but
Okay.
she just plucked one out and gave it to
Okay.
me.
Okay. Yes.
I have a question. It's probably me because I'm new. I haven't lived here all that long, but I'm totally confused about recycling because people will tell me, all right, you put your bags outside your apartment door, that's fine, but it's not recycled, it's just taken to the city dump with the rest of the trash. Well, that doesn't motivate me to save it. You know, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to save.
Okay.
There's been conflict.
Okay. So clarification about recycling. We can do that.
There is a small group of residents who is very interested in recycling, and they are beginning to learn all about it. But it is not accurate that our recycling just goes to the dump.
So it might be, if we have a resident group that's interested in that, maybe some education can come from that group to the residents. That'd be a good way to do it. Other questions on any topic?
How is it going out in the great dig outside to correct the leaking in the atrium?
I'm not sure. The question was how's it going with the digging outside in the wellness courtyard? And I'm not 100% sure how it's going. It started off gangbusters and they slowed down. There's a guy named Mark Greenwald who is the owner's rep for various projects, and he's been managing that. And so I'm not as close to that project. I emailed him last week and said, should I be worried? I don't see anybody working, which always makes me nervous. And I got a reply that they were going to be back on. I think they're back here today working. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I just want to thank you for embracing Cedarfield the way you have.
Oh, I appreciate
In
that.
7 weeks' time, it's absolutely astounding how much you've learned and how much you know. I think you know more than I do how to get around this place, and I've been here 4 years. But you've done a great job.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. As we know, the secret to a long life is knowing when it's time to go. So I'm going to go on a clap. Thank you all for coming and watching.
I just want to say I've been here almost a year, and this is the best I have